Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where I don't know what you got for Christmas this year, but Hollywood got money. Piles and piles of it. By the way, if you want to share your Christmas hauls down below, I'd love to hear what Santa brought you. But yes, Santa brought Hollywood cold hard cash, with not just Avatar 3 showing tremendous staying power. It's a Christmas miracle. Or is that a James Cameron miracle? But also multiple other movies came in strong. And for the first time in a long time, we have a very healthy top 10 with 1 through 7 in the double digits, baby. And every movie posting well over $1 million for the weekend. How long have we looked at the top 10 and go to the movies at the bottom? You're damn lucky the market's so slow right now, because otherwise you'd never be in the top 10. All right, so what movie or movies did you see this past week for Christmas? And which are you planning to see this coming week for New Year's? That's right, Hollywood loves this 2-week window. So yes, hooray! This is the best Christmas at the box office since the pandemic. Merry Christmas Movie House, indeed. I watched that twice this year. Once in black and white, once in color. It was so fun. All right, so anyway. But you gotta work for that money. You gotta work it. You gotta write that list to Santa. You gotta be good. And by that, I mean good in publicity. So looking back, when actors and writers, which includes director-writer hyphenates, by the way, when you wear multiple hats in Hollywood, you gotta join the respective guilds. But anyway, when they all went on strike and couldn't promote their movies, that might have been an even bigger blow than we thought, because while, again, everyone loves to say the movie star is dead, Timmy and Jimmy are working hard to promote their respective films, even beyond opening weekend, and they are seeing results. My goodness, I'm curious. When does promotion from a Hollywood celebrity work for you, and when does it not, right? Because some of you are pretty appalled by celebrities, but yet you're saying these movies. And since this is a complex question, right? Perhaps, about celebrities just in general, Hollywood celebrities, perhaps an easier one is, what do you think Timmy and Jimmy are getting right that others aren't? And I bet a lot of you would answer, they made a good movie. So Avatar 3 ain't just a Jimmy C win, but it's a Disney win too. And my goodness, did they rally at the last minute this year. Doubling down on Christmas with tremendous results. My goodness. And insert gambling lingo here. The number 1 and number 2 movies for the holiday, with the teeny tiny drop for Avatar Fire and Ash, and a surge for Zootopia in its 5th freaking weekend. My goodness. This has allowed them to shoot past $6 billion and the other studios at the global box office for 2025. The only studio to do it. Runner-up, who else? Warner Brothers, who got a little distracted, took their eye a little off the ball at the end of the year because they have other things going on. But they're runner-up with 4.3. So it's not even close, man. There's a freaking billion gap between them. That's because, while a lot of big Hollywood titles this year struggled to entice overseas audiences, like Superman, Sinners, and Wicked for Good, man, international audiences just can't get enough Avatar and Zootopia. Ka-ching! In every denomination or money. It's amazing. It's like an Epcot of cash. I love that. Avatar has a little over 70% of its box office from overseas, while Zootopia has a little under 80%. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. It's usually more of a 60-40 split. 40% domestic, 60% overseas. The rest of the world is pretty big. All right, so it's clear that if other studios want to compete with Disney on a global scale, they need franchises that overseas audiences love. They love them. DC and Jurassic World underperformed this year, just slightly for Jurassic World. Didn't make $1 billion, but came closer than a lot of other movies this year. And Universal also really needs to figure out a way to get Fast and Furious back online. I mean, whoa, those movies make so much money overseas. And maybe Harry Potter shouldn't be going to the small screen with HBO, but maybe they should try again on the big screen. Maybe going in the direction of Hogwarts Legacy with all new stories, which we keep telling them. Meanwhile, Netflix is like, we think WB Games has a value of 0? What? That's not very promising. All right, so, we're like, what's the value of the gaming division? Let me tell you, not just in games, but in, they should think of it as source material for potential movies and shows going forward, just like comic books and other video games have ended up being. So to see no value there is stupid. All right, so what non-Disney franchises, and you're going to have to think which ones aren't Disney. Some of them might surprise you. You'd be like, oh, wait, that is Disney. But what non-Disney franchises that are on a global scale do you want to see back up and running and competing in this marketplace? By the way, next Sunday, I'll be doing a deep dive on the 2025 box office overall. Plus, I've got more top 10 videos coming. I'll be able to discuss the Avengers Doomsday trailers at some point. I have to wait for them to be officially released. And some of them, I have to wait for them to come online because we can't discuss the freaking visuals. Let's see how ridiculous it gets. I might be able to discuss them once they hit theaters. No one talked about the Thor one, which has been in theaters for like a couple of days now. All right. And another live stream on Friday to discuss the Stranger Things series finale. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any videos or live streams for now or for the coming entire year. So as he continues his full court PR press, he hasn't done hot ones yet though. James Cameron has now promised that if Disney doesn't let him make Avatar 4 and 5, he'll hold a press conference to reveal how those movies would have unfolded. Somewhere Zack Snyder is like, damn it, why didn't I think of that? Because this is a very aggressive play. Because he could do a comic book, a novelization, an animated movie. Why just give it away in a press conference? Because he's given a middle finger to Disney potentially and a heads up to his fans. So let me tell you. So yes, both gentlemen are aggressive multi-hyphenates that ain't afraid of no studio. Although a studio can inflict an awful lot of damage, just ask Zack Snyder. Although there were other factors there as well, obviously. But Jimmy C is much further along in his career, and thanks to Avatar, now insanely rich. F-U rich. And he's never given an F. So that's something that James Cameron has going for him too. And also, except for that last Terminator movie where he's only a producer, his track record's pretty freaking phenomenal, man. But clearly, he's still a wee bit nervous, because why else would he say this, right? So I think he's both giving Disney a heads up that he won't drop Avatar easily. He's like, I'm going to hold a freaking press conference, man. And they're like, ooh, we don't know. Maybe they do want him to. I don't know. They can't make any money off the press conference. So I'd be like, what? And I think he's also letting his fans know that he's still got 2 juicy chapters left to go. So you better go see Avatar 3 if you want him to make those next installments. And the fans, they are a-going. My goodness, a stunningly low 28% drop in its second weekend. Avatar 3 is now only slightly behind Avatar 2, which opened much bigger, which is why, despite the fact that it dropped 53% in its second weekend, it's still a day or two ahead of Avatar 3 with hitting the big markers, like how long it took to get to 500 million. Avatar 2 reached $1 billion in 14 days, and we're on day 10 for Avatar 3, which is at 760. And it very well, in 4 days or less, could hit $1 billion. And it still has another holiday week and weekend to go with New Year's and no real competition in sight until maybe Valentine's Day, but really not until the end of February with Scream 7. I had said last week that, I felt like I wasn't feeling the Avatar heat, but clearly a lot of people are. But I'd said that intellectually, I think 1.5. I had thought that it would make the same amount percentage of the last movie like Wicked for Good had done. That was my calculation. But at this rate, it might actually hit 2 billion. How does Jimmy do it? Well, I think it's a couple of things. Let's try to actually answer this question. How does Jimmy do it? And I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. So one, these movies look incredible, no matter how you feel about this story. And I think Avatar 2 and 3 look even better than 1. It's amazing. There's no denying that these Avatar movies have visuals in a totally different league than any other movie, which makes them a must-see in theaters. Truly, even though I didn't love this latest one, I still couldn't deny that they're just an awe to behold. 2, nobody does schmaltz like James Cameron. He's able to tap into a sentimentality that not only connects deeply with audiences, but in particular, he's able to reach audiences that don't usually go to the theater. Activate Middle America, ka-ching! And this is a group I think that he connects to that don't usually feel a connection to what Hollywood usually puts out. 3, Avatar has clearly become a tradition for a ton of people. Jimmy puts out an Avatar movie, you go see it. And a big part of that is that so far, James Cameron has not broken the trust that fans have had in him, which is very unusual these days for a franchise. Take notes, everybody. I hope you're writing that down. And what's perhaps the most incredible thing that he's accomplished here is that Jimmy C didn't need to give Avatar fans a chance to miss him. There's only 3 years between these last 2 entries, and audiences are still extremely interested. That is how a major franchise is supposed to be able to perform. If I think, again, that trust isn't broken, but also there's nothing else like Avatar, so it has no competition. Nobody else is operating on this level. I mean, it takes so much money for Jimmy C to do this, but because the results are so incredible, Fox and now Disney are really willing to pump it into him. I was watching Landman, and they were talking this week about it's $400 million to drill this oil rig, but if we hit pay dirt, it'll be like just trillions of dollars. And then they go, what's the likelihood of hitting the pay dirt? And they said 10%. And you're like, oh my God. But so I don't know, if you were another studio, who would you give $400 million to? Honestly, that's a great question. Who would you give 400? Maybe Steve. I don't even know if I give it to Steven Spielberg. I don't know. It's really scary. I'm not sure who would you give? Honestly, I want to know. Who would you say, here's $400 million. Don't look. Let's just see what they come up with. Oh my God, I'm so scared. That's hilarious. I think that with Avatar 4 already partially filmed and Disney having an ongoing investment in the franchise through their theme parks, I think Jimmy's going to get to make 4 and 5. But it's 71. What does this mean? Will this be the end for Jimmy? Is this all he's going to do with the rest of his career? What about the Terminator movie he just said he was working on? Or the Ghost of Hiroshima? He promised that guy on his deathbed he would tell his story. And who is he passing the baton to? He said he might let somebody else direct these movies, but if I were Disney, I'd be like, no freaking way. I'm giving you $400 million, and that's it. Like, who does he pass the baton to? Even for the thing to work on things once he's retired or can no longer make movies. George Lucas kind of passed the baton to Dave Filoni, and that's kind of worked out. But Cameron has no such protege. Perhaps he should start to look for one. It bothers me to this day that Walt Disney did not have the foresight to develop a protege. I mean, he didn't expect to die so young. Very tragic. But, he was in his 60s and he never, ever, that's a whole different conversation. Not only in terms of how he viewed his employees, but his 2 daughters. It was very frustrating that his son-in-law took over the company instead of one of his daughters, who maybe he could have raised to have that Disney magic. Whatever. All right. So anyway, so that's why I think that it's been hard, to recreate that Disney magic. And Kevin Feige lost his protege to DC, which, and say what you will about James Gunn, but he's doing better than Marvel. Do you think studios should be more insistent that those heading up major franchises for them secure the future of those franchises with a creative leadership plan going forward? Talk about creative leadership. Timmy C's doing something pretty freaking incredible with Marty Supreme. This is amazing. I think it's interesting to me. Ryan Reynolds, of course, I think blew Deadpool and Wolverine up to this degree. Really, that was incredible as well. But I think the difference is that Marty Supreme is such a much smaller film. But although it's a smaller opening in comparison, but still, I think, when you're hyping Deadpool and Wolverine so many years into the MCU and it's the 3rd Deadpool installment, your job's a little easier. This is incredible. So Uncut Gems from the Safdie brothers before they split up, but a very similar movie to Marty Supreme, went wide with $9.5 million back in 2019. And then just last year, Timothee Chalamet's Christmas release of A Complete Unknown had an opening weekend of 11.6 and a Christmas opening of 23.2, the 4 or 5 day or whatever day weekend. Marty Supreme, a 3-day of 17.5, and since its opening on Christmas Day, 28.2. Oh my gosh. That Chalamet was able to single-handedly will his movie to be the hip choice for the holiday, a small little period piece about a Jewish ping pong player post-World War II, is something that, believe me, everyone in Hollywood will be studying in the hopes of duplicating it. From top to bottom, actors so that they can say they can do the same for their movies, and then directors and producers and studios hoping they can get another actor to do this for them. Or maybe they should hire Timmy. Polling has shown that the biggest driver for the movie, what people said what got them into the theater, was social media at 28%. Friends and family was second at 19%. And hey, friends and family probably also came from social media because people were, so even if you weren't on social media, you were talking to friends and family who were. The demos, they're solid. They could be a little bit better, but I think this shows room for growth. It shows big pockets of people who haven't seen the movie yet, and perhaps now maybe they will. On that note, 52% walk-up. That means tickets bought when you went to the movie. 50% there for Chalamet. Ooh, is this why Warner Brothers is not moving Dune 3 against Doomsday? They're like, we'll see you, Robert Downey Jr. We have the new up-and-coming star, Mr. Timmy C. And Avengers Doomsday is being very interesting in their marketing. I wonder what Timmy's going to do once he transitions out of Marty Supreme and starts hyping Dune 3. This could be very interesting. Although, why cannibalize each other? One of you should move. I can understand why Warner Brothers is annoyed, though, because they had the date first. What other actors and directors do you think could create this level of hype, particularly with younger moviegoers who Hollywood has had a hard time these days keeping engaged? This is the second best opening ever for A24 behind Civil War, and that movie and Everything Everywhere All at Once are the ones for Marty Supreme to beat to claim to be the biggest movie ever for A24. I'm really glad that Marty Supreme is doing so well at the box office because I don't know how many things it's going to actually win this year. I think it's going to get a ton of nominations, and it already is, but I don't know about wins. But maybe with all this heat, that'll increase its odds of actually winning. What do you think? Although I have to say, I bet a lot of you still haven't seen Marty Supreme. Were you always planning to go in the next week or so, or has all this hype changed your mind? 2 other movies opened for Christmas Day, but again, Marty Supreme so overperformed, I think Marty drank their milkshake. So luckily, Anaconda wasn't a very expensive movie to make. And while, of course, surely Sony had hoped that this was their new Jumanji or Tropic Thunder, or Jumanji meets Tropic Thunder, I gotta say, I think this movie, because of the low budget, is too small to be like those films. You gotta spend money to make money, right? Sometimes Hollywood spends obviously too much money, but maybe this is a little bit too much in the other direction. Anaconda also, in retrospect, when you look at this cast, maybe skewed a little older and a little whiter. And, that obviously hindered its box office. I don't see a broad appeal here. Jack Black is so hot coming off of Minecraft that I think, and Jumanji, that I think people are like, oh, it's going to be another one of those. But, Paul Rudd outside of the MCU really does struggle for the most part at the box office. And so, didn't really quite work out. But in terms of skewing older and white, you ain't seen nothing yet, because Song Sung Blue skewed massively white, older, and female. Disney might want Hugh Jackman to be Wolverine till he's 90, but I think that setup would benefit Jackman considerably as well, because therefore he can keep making these other movies. Hugh, what are you doing? I tried to watch that Sheep trailer. One of you actually told me you really liked it, so apologies if you think it looks great, but I turned it off once the sheep started to talk, and I was just, honestly, my thoughts were, Hugh, what? All right, meanwhile, Kate Hudson has been telling everyone that Mary Jane was hers to turn down. She could have been Mary Jane 20 years ago. Don't pull an Amanda Seyfried, Kate. Don't spend more time talking about the roles you didn't get than the ones you did. And don't do that to Kirsten Dunst. I mean, we finally accepted her as Mary Jane all these years later. She took a lot of heat in that role. Don't do that. You know what? Focus on the hit that you do have, Running Point. And that's a great show. It's getting another season. And speaking of Amanda Seyfried, she and Sydney Sweeney, well, I guess it doesn't hurt your career, because she and Sydney, maybe it's all Sydney Sweeney, but they did a great job holding off the newcomers, falling just 19% in their second weekend, and remaining above most of the newcomers. Again, really helping the careers of everyone involved, and everyone involved really needed it. And interestingly, no scandal to undercut their success. All right, so David is also still doing nicely, and I think this was not a good release date for SpongeBob, because it has a good cinema score, a very good cinema score. So it'll likely end up doing well down the line on digital and streaming. Okay, over at Nielsen, look at this. My goodness. Look how small all the other little bars are next to Stranger Things. My goodness. And this is funny, because right now everyone is tearing apart Stranger Things Volume 2, which just dropped. But Nielsen is a month behind, so this is when Volume 1 dropped. But everybody loves a party, even if it's an angry mob. In the blowback for Stranger Things 5, we'll see if it affects the viewership, Volume 2. But it's just been a real frenzy on social media. Although you never know. The algorithm these days, Elon Musk has turned it up to an 11 in terms of feeding you what it thinks you want to see. So it's becoming less and less reliable as having your finger on the pulse of pop culture. Does anyone here have nothing but positive things about Stranger Things Volume 2 in their timeline, maybe? Maybe you clicked on positive stuff. So I would love to know if some of you have that experience, because, it's a real feeding frenzy of piranhas over on my timeline. But so as I said, I take you back to a more innocent time. 1 month ago, when Stranger Things 5 Volume 1 came out, and most people were defending it, right? And so, as you can see, the show set a new record for streaming content minutes watched in a single week, beating out the previous record holder, Stranger Things 4, by 1 billion minutes, 8 to 7 billion. And as Netflix makes its case to acquire Warner Brothers, they're using this success as evidence and floating out articles through the trades like this one that claims that over the course of 5 seasons, Stranger Things has added $1.4 billion to the economy, thank you very much, with jobs, merch, and more. But the story ain't over yet, with fans turning hardcore on Volume 2. But also, is Stranger Things at this point just too big to fail? We've only got one final episode left at this point. And perhaps people maybe will still even go see it in theaters, but now for the angry mob experience. Ooh, I'm curious to see what theater recordings go up online when people go to watch this. But maybe the Duffer Brothers will turn it around in the last 2 hours. The Rise of Skywalker, by the way, still made over $1 billion in theaters. But I think the real damage here, I was talking to an industry friend of mine who said, look at all the minutes that Stranger Things has watched. Netflix is laughing all the way to the bank. And Netflix might indeed do that. But I think the Duffer Brothers and their agents and Paramount, who just signed them to an extremely expensive deal, might not be laughing. Benioff and Weiss have yet to recover from Game of Thrones Season 8, even though the franchise has, but under new creative leadership. And Damon Lindelof, he managed to crawl his way back, but he's still haunted by the final season of Lost and has still yet, I think, to go back to where he was when that show was in its heyday. Audiences it's hard to make audiences. They will forget, but it's hard. Audiences forgave Andy Muschietti. Well, I'm not sure, because not a lot of people are watching it. Yeah, as you're going to see, it's nowhere on these charts still. But I think a lot of people I saw who were said no way they want him anywhere near Batman after The Flash. I feel much better with the Welcome to Derry show. Speaking of audiences making their opinions heard, audiences are also saying that while they have no problem with representation, they really don't like forced checking boxes representation that doesn't seem organic. It's bad when you have a major LGBT storyline and LGBT fans are saying, no, thank you. I've seen a lot of you say, I saw one person say that it's it's interesting that the best and worst LGBT representation aired apparently the same day, with the season finale of Heated Rivalry being the best and Stranger Things 5 Volume 2 being the worst. And I'd be curious how you feel about that. All right, so what do you think the real fallout will be from Stranger Things Volume 2, if any? As for the rest of Nielsen's charts, again, this was for the week of Thanksgiving, Landman with Season 2 is still a ratings juggernaut. I'm so happy. I love Landman. I just told you a big story about Landman. Such a good show. It's a very impressive number. It just looks very tiny next to Stranger Things 5. And what a week for Claire Danes, with both The Beast and Me still very strong, but yet I still have not watched it. They just can't get, and I love, Matthew Rhys. I love Matthew Rhys so much, but for some reason I don't want to watch it. Have you watched it? Am I missing out? And then Homeland, I've been watching my pit screeners, and that review embargo lifts on January 5th. Oh. And also Homeland, enjoying a surge as it appears on Netflix. That Netflix, it can blow up any show apparently. Plus, as you can see, while his movie might not be doing great, SpongeBob is still a streaming superstar. All right, as I said, no Welcome to Derry. Still on the overall or the originals chart, and still nothing about a season 2 renewal. Alien Earth got renewed only after Predator Badlands' strong debut. But what is going to propel Welcome to Derry to a second season? Maybe Stranger Things coming to an end. No more Stranger Things. Maybe, speaking of passing the baton, Welcome to Derry picks it up. Particularly because I see so many of you saying that was far superior than this last season for Stranger Things. What will push HBO to renew, and how long is it going to take? And I'm not sure why Absentia is on the originals chart. I guess because it was a Prime Video original, but that was back in 2017 to 2020. But it's on here because, yes, Netflix is blowing up yet another show. With movies, as the holiday season was kicking off, we see new and old Christmas movies on this chart, while K-pop Demon Hunters is still going strong. So let's move over to Netflix's charts. So yes, over on Netflix's charts for just last week, this was right before Christmas, K-pop is still in the top 3. It's been bobbing in and out of the top 3, but it's back in it. And it was also just announced that it passed 500 million views. For perspective, Moana, the first Moana on Disney Plus, has been watched 735 million times, it's been estimated. But that is since 2019. So that just goes to show you what a huge hit K-pop really is. I'm very curious to see what Netflix does with K-pop Demon Hunters 2. Can Netflix blow it up the way it should be blown up? And what's that going to look like? I mean, can it make it seem like it's more than just like a streaming hit, right? I mean, you know what I mean. Like, will they put it in a theatrical run right away, like a little bit bigger? Like they do with like Frankenstein and Wake Up Dead Man this year, like 2 weeks in theaters first? But it's an all ages thing, and people are going to want to be able to watch it multiple times on streaming. Maybe it'll be simultaneous. This is new territory. It's very exciting. And Netflix can promote when they want to. I mean, look at how much they've done for Stranger Things Volume 5. So I think, it's a long ways away because it's animation, and they had not started work on it just yet, but I'm very excited. It was many, many years between the two Frozen, so it can be done. Now, Wake Up Dead Man is holding steady as a modest number 1. It's good, but they still haven't said if they're going to make any more Wake Up Dead Mans, despite Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig saying they were interested in doing so. And then I agree, everybody, the animated Grinch is a fantastic holiday movie. I like both of them, but for some reason, I just really like the animated version. That's been my choice the last few years. In fact, since it came out. Which of the two Grinches do you prefer? Over on shows, this was again right before Volume 2 dropped. Stranger Things 5 Volume 1 had sunk to number 4. Yet still, all 4 previous seasons are still in the top 10, which is helping to create those huge numbers on Nielsen, because remember, Nielsen counts all seasons together. Stranger Things 5 hasn't made the all-time chart just yet. I'm keeping an eye on it. We'll see if Volume 2 can propel it into that. Emily in Paris is still a solid hit for Netflix with its 5th season as well. Although it didn't take them 10 years to do it, right? 10 years? Was it 10? Yeah, 10 years. That's nuts. And then live events are still popular with Jake Paul, quite the showman for Netflix. Look who they put in the thumbnail. And that's a really low number for Dave Chappelle. But this was a surprise drop that they didn't advertise it at all. It was like, surprise, Dave Chappelle special. The night of that boxing match. And that boxing match ran long. So the Dave Chappelle special didn't drop until 1 a.m. at the very tail end of this window. So we'll see what it looks like on the chart next week. Finally, with digital on Apple's charts, I can't tell you how delighted I was when I brought this up to see that Nuremberg was number 1. Hooray! I thought this was, while it's a very, very long movie, which I think actually makes it ideal to watch at home, It's certainly a worthwhile one. I had tweeted that I thought that everybody should watch this film at some point, and I'm so thrilled to see that people are. Rami Malek is totally chewing the scenery. There's no doubt about it. But Russell Crowe and Leo Woodall both deliver excellent performances. Crowe has a very big role, obviously, but Woodall has this monologue towards the end, which was amazing. And the movie is shockingly topical. So again, I'm just so happy that people are checking it out. And if you haven't yet, I hope that you will too now. And with Christmas wrapped, people are going back to the movies they missed in theaters before they switch their focus to watching all the awards-nominated films. We're about to switch over to awards time, baby. Critics' Choice is Sunday, January 4th, while the Golden Globes is Sunday, January 11th. And the Oscar noms will be announced Thursday, January 22nd. Ooh. All right, so as you'd expect, there's pretty much nothing coming out this week because Hollywood has already got a lot of stuff they want you to watch on the big screen and small. Wicked for Good will hit digital on Tuesday, while of course on New Year's Eve, the 2-hour series finale. This is it. The end of Stranger Things drops at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the streaming service and in select theaters. Are you still going to watch it as soon as it drops? I think you should. You've watched it this far and you don't want any spoilers. It's just 2 hours. It's basically a movie. And again, I'll be doing a live stream to discuss it on the Friday, January 2nd. And that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? And again, what do you still need to watch as 2025 comes to a close? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.